Chapter 134 Leon vs. Yuki Part 2 The battle between Leon and Yuki began. The air flickered with light, and the ground was blown away by the shock. Even Chloe, who hadn't moved, was hit by the aftermath of the shock. Kagali, who hid behind Chloe, ducked her head and opened her eyes wide. Time out. What in the world is happening here? It was a high-speed battle too quick for Kagali to perceive. She could only see traces of it. Which side has the advantage? The result is unknown. At a glance, that situation seems even. However, I see that Leon Onichan still holds the advantage and has lead the situation as he desired. I'm not very good at analyzing. Chloe spoke while thinking that as they watched the fight. Huh, that's a bit vague. Then, which side will win? Chloe remained silent for a while. If the conditions remain just as they are now, Leon Onichan will win, she declared. Whatever, although I will declare something too. Yuki-sama will not be defeated, definitely. Kagali forcefully made an assertion. Chloe glanced at Kagali, and neither denied nor confirmed her assertion. The Black Knight Cloud said nothing and put down his held-up hand. Cloud, who had been seriously injured by Leon's blow, was now fully healed. He was amazed that even the black armor was completely restored. Gently putting her finger over the wide-eyed Cloud's lip, Chloe slightly shook her head with just that she drove Cloud out of her mind, and Chloe returned her focus to Leon and Yuki's fight. The Black Knight Cloud stood up beside Chloe without saying anything. Hey, can you see the fight between those two? Kagali asked Cloud, who had stood up. However, Cloud only answered with a nod instead of words. You seem to be monstrous enough to be capable of following such a fight with your eyes. Well, it's okay. After all, it will be a victory for Yuki-sama. You should ascertain the victory of your new master as well. After saying that much, Kagali sat down on a convenient rock with an uninterested expression. Of course, she sat in a spot where Chloe could still act as a barrier and protect her. Their level of combat was far above what she could perceive, and Kagali didn't even have the slightest bit of experience necessary to comprehend the fight anyway. What's more, this girl fully believed in Yuki's victory, so she didn't have any interest in watching the battle. Cloud, unlike Kagali, was still bewildered by his current situation. However, after being admonished by Chloe, he didn't dare foolishly reveal his current state. Actually, his consciousness, thanks to Chloe, had returned to him, still pledging his allegiance to Leon. Chloe's ability was not to recovery, the true nature it was reminding time. She rewound time to make it so that the situation where Yuki did the override never happened. Without changing the surroundings time, it was possible to use the ability to affect only limited number of people. This ability was the ultimate power. It is not limited to erasing damage, but even abnormal status. In other words, fatigue or even death will become non-existent. However, it's unfortunate that the Reds' revival was impossible because Yuki used his depriving ability. There was no way to interfere. Although it was an absolute power, it was not almighty. Chloe knew that well. Besides, she had just acquired the ability and could not wield it fully. Her wish to revive the Red Knight was difficult to fulfill. There was no one that would condemn her. However, she looked at the Red Knight with a sad expression. There was nothing that she could do, since she couldn't move without permission. While letting out a sigh, Chloe focused on the fight. Leon and Yuki, the fight between those two had just begun. However, as Chloe's eyes focused, she saw clearly that the state of the fight had changed greatly. Yuki felt a deep regret for his erroneous impression. He had underestimated his opponent, Leon Cromwell, a newcomer demon lord, a former human, the demon lord who defeated Kagali or Kazariam. Because Kagali was too weak, it could be said that he had estimated Leon's power as being low. Fortunately, thanks to the fact that an ultimate skill had awakened in him, he could continue fighting. He was certain that if he hadn't acquired the skill, he would have already been defeated. Or rather, I didn't think that he was this strong. He kept thinking as warded off the blow from the light that was unleashed towards him. He could feel that his energy was reduced by a large amount when warding attacks. If this situation continued, his defeat was merely a matter of time. Yuki's ability specialized in stealing things. Its main use was to take the enemy's energy. With this ability, he could recover his power while he attacked. So normally, this ability could be called omnipotent in attack and defense. That's the case when the opponent is not Leon. The attribute of Leon's ability is light. equals purification. This attribute specialized in purifying demons. In other words, it's an ability fitting for a hero. Because this person was a demon lord, Yuki couldn't help but feel that the ironic situation was a great big joke. Though there was no use in complaining, Yuki's acquired ability was part of the demon series, meaning it had a demonic attribute. Every time he attacked, he received purification, meaning he received damage. Much of the energy that he'd stolen had been purified. Furthermore, he couldn't evade the opponent's attack, and he couldn't help but to notice the large amount of damage he received with each encounter. This isn't good, right? I will lose if this situation continues. He thought about his next plan optimistically. In the worst case scenario, he could involve Chloe. However, he wished to avoid that. It would become difficult to lead the world to destruction if he did that. The reason was simple. It would become impossible for him to defeat the strongest entities in this world, known as Guy Crimson and Nilim Nava, and Rimiro as well. Yuki's intuition told him that the slime he met was an abnormality. Its growth speed was abnormal, and his gaze was impenetrable. That gaze felt uncomfortable, so he had judged that it was impossible to ignore Rimuru. I never thought that Rimuru-san could see through my true nature. Still, I get the feeling it will be dangerous if I don't get rid of that person quickly. For such a thing, it was preferable to use Chloe. Two strong person and one dangerous person. Yuki had judged Milim was someone that could easily be deceived. Therefore, the real problem was Guy and Rimuru. Yuki felt uneasy, leaving Guy as Chloe's only opponent, therefore he was going to get rid of Rimuru. After that, he would make Chloe fight Guy. It was a plan to get rid of the two of them at the same time. It seemed it would be difficult to defeat Rimuru later if he used Chloe now. Feeling such a premonition, Yuki didn't give Chloe an order. Well then, what did he need to do right now? The best he could do in the contract he made with Chloe was for her not to disrupt Yuki's decree. However, it wasn't a problem for petty orders. Chloe probably was a good-natured person, so if he requested it for her, she might listen. But withdrawing from here would still be impossible, even if she protected Yuki and the rest. If it had been Rimuru and Ruminas that had come over, it would have gone just as planned. Yuki let out a sigh and decided to discard his hesitation and use his trump card. He regretted that he had misunderstood Leon's strength, and after he escaped, he needed to reflect on this. He needed to make a decision soon, since his imminent defeat wouldn't be a joke. Haha, Leon, I'm sorry. I underestimated you too much. Therefore, I've decided to use my trump card. Phew, do as you like. It will be useless. After putting up such a bluff, please don't say something cowardly, okay? Yuki activated the combined ability of Summoner and his ultimate skill, Avaricious King Mammon, and a very large magic circle began to appear on the ground. Within the circle were numerous corpses composed of Yuki's subordinates and the Red Knight. Their bodies began to expand and became lumps of flesh. Then, the wriggling, wicked thing that crawled out of Yuki's magic circle mixed with the lumps of flesh. It let out a roar in fury. It let out a roar in fury. In the past, the originator of the dragon race, Star King Dragon Veldanava, had given his daughter a dragon as guardian. The dragon possessing great power had fallen into a trap and was killed by a certain kingdom. When the girl, its master, evolved, its body was changed into a chaos dragon, full of fiendish power. Unfortunately, it lacked a soul, making it transcend beyond the confines of good and evil into an incarnation of destruction. It was said that the girl grieving over the sad twist of fate sealed the dragon where nobody would find it. However, after many years and months had passed, miasma was released from its body, running the surrounding nature. Naturally, the Freedom Association received requests to investigate the cause of the wicked miasma. Awaken, Chaos Dragon, your master is me. Your true master is me. Using the awakened dragon, he was going to get rid of the pursuing demon lord. In his original plan, he was going to escape while the dragon rampaged. However, it was different now. Right now, by using the ultimate skill, Greedy King Mammon, the Chaos Dragon's master was Yuki. The Chaos Dragon that had just awakened released an overwhelming pressure and absorbed the surrounding magic power to build up its own power. As a direct descendant of the dragon race, its total length exceeded 20 meters. Right now, the strongest dragon moved according to Yuki's will. The roar and miasmic breath it spouted corroded the rocky surface and the arbor. From the hillside to the summit crumbled. This was the Chaos Dragon's ability, Chaotic Breath. Yuki sported a proud smile, and Kagali turned pale. Though it wasn't visible in Cloud's expression, it looked like he believed in his master Leon. Chloe clenched her fist. If by any chance Leon was defeated, she decided she would destroy the Chaos Dragon with her own hands. Ha ha ha, what do you think? This is something that you can't deal with so easily. Right now, if you swear fidelity to me, I will gladly make you my companion. How does that sound? Leon laughed scornfully at Yuki's proposal. He had predicted this development. Furthermore, he hadn't obstructed the summoning. That was because, as expected, it was a chaos dragon. You're a fool to revive a revenant from ancient times. Do you wish to incur the wrath of the dragon princess Milim? It will be transmitted to Milim as soon as I cut the soul's connection. In the end, for you, Kagurazaka Yuki. I see, you realized it and didn't let me do as I pleased. Even so, won't you already be dead before Milim arrives? Foo-foo, do you want to try and see? Erasing his expression, Yuki gave an order to the Chaos Dragon. Kill the enemy before you. The Chaos Dragon was certainly strong. Its power was second to the dragon kind and seemed to reign as the strongest monster that appeared in nature. However, this mindless monster didn't have any wisdom. It was an incarnation of violence that just rampaged and attacked without reason. In case the previous dragon lords hadn't awakened, it might have exceeded them in brute force and overwhelming energy. However, Leon was a genius. Moreover, his attribute was light equals purification. His existence was such that could be called the natural enemy of the Chaos Dragon. I will say it once more. You are underestimating me. The reason I deliberately gave you time for the summoning was to show the difference between our powers, and that what you have done today, in this place, is fruitless. I will show you a piece of my power. Leon was wrapped in a golden light. While he talked, golden wings constructed with pure light energy appeared on his back. His wings resembled the wings of the angel race, but in reality, his wings were totally a stream of light itself, and he held the flame pillar, holy flame rapier, which had manifested in his right hand. It was a mythical class, Gad's rapier, the strongest sword in Leon's possession. A matter of beautiful bluish-white flame stood out on its flexible thin blade. Leon held a golden circle, golden round shield, in his left hand, and the rapier in his right. It was a legend class shield as good as armor, but it had high defensibility because it was mixed with Leon's holy aura. In reality, the shield could suppress the damage from an attack of demonic attribute by reducing up to half of it with purification. Fully armed, Leon glanced at Yuki, who'd lost his smile, and then moved his eyes to Chaos Dragon as though he had lost interest in Yuki. And then, it seems I will incur Milim's hostility if I kill you. Since that's the case, I will only make you fall asleep again. Oh, holy spirits, flutter, triangle pyramid, sacred tetrahedron, demon ceiling barrier. A small tetrahedron with four pillars made from crystallized spirits grew large, and in accordance to Leon's will, it wrapped around the chaos dragon. This was the ultimate holy attribute barrier that even surpassed Holy Field. The barrier that Leon had constructed was given the effect eternity, where the captured person was confined. It was a high-class sealing technique that rivaled infinite prison. No, the effect may even surpass infinite prison. If the target had a demonic attribute with the existence of this barrier, Leon could possibly win against Guy just once. Of course, if it was Guy, he would instantly sense the danger of the barrier and not get caught by it. Therefore, not to be disparaging, but the success rate against Guy was only about 1 in 1,000 attempts. However, if the target was a mindless monster, it couldn't defend against this technique. The poor Chaos Dragon struggled to break the seal, but its resistance was futile. Furthermore, when the barrier's effect activated, it sucked the magic power from the Chaos Dragon and used it to reinforce the barrier's strength. When it came to this, its movements were already sealed. It wasn't like the life cycle barrier that Milim had erected. No matter how much energy the Chaos Dragon possessed, as it was, it could vanish before 100 years had passed. In this matter, Leon thought that Milim could possibly resent him for this, but if he released the seal and handed it over to Milim, then it would be fine. It would be troublesome to incur Milim's wrath, but it wasn't really something that he should be thinking of right now. He modified the barrier settings so that it would immediately be buried under the ground. In the end, the Chaos Dragon was sealed again in an instant by Leon. Next scene, this could not be called a battle. It was an event symbolizing Leon's overwhelming strength. Well then, did your trump card end with this? If it's over, it's my turn now. Leon looked at Yuki and spoke mercilessly. Leon had completely settled the situation in his favor, and Yuki's chance of victory could be deemed as non-existent. But, I never thought that a demon lord was amazing to this degree. Honestly, I underestimated it. Even so, I already took the source of that dragon's power. I don't need it anymore. I have restored the damage I received from you. Then, should I get serious now? Exactly as stated by Yuki, his both hands were covered with dragon scales. His body was covered by the same miasma that had covered the chaos dragon not long ago. It was almost like it had transformed into an ominous black armor, resembling the scales of dragon. Leon recalled the buried barrier to himself. You bastard, he shouted at Yuki. The chaos dragon became bone. It weathered and then crumbled. It was the result of the dragon losing its power. Just as Yuki had said, he had deprived it of its very core. With this, Milim's wrath is the moment Leon thought about that. Do you think now is the right time to worry about that? Yuki leapt behind Leon's with a speed incomparable to before and delivered a strong kick to Leon's back. Yuki, who had taken the power of the dragon, had become a dragon warrior. He put more effort into the fight. Don't get cocky, you insect. Golden lights were emitted intensely and completely dyed the area pure white. Inside the torrent of light that blinded people's eyes was Leon, who stood glaring angrily at Yuki, his body wrapped in white gold armor. The 36 pairs of 72 wings appeared once more on his back. They had vanished when he had used barrier before, but it manifested again when Leon's virtually unlimited holy aura was released. Light Angel Leon versus Dragon Warrior Yuki. The fight was settled in an instant. Leon, who burned with anger, delivered intense attacks towards Yuki without giving him the chance to counterattack. With a flowing, elegant thrusting speed that approached the speed of light, Leon's flame pillar made Yuki's entire body instantly became bloody. The ominous black armor that was the crystallization of the Chaos Dragon's power was smashed to pieces, unable to withstand the sword endowed by the power of purification. As for the difference in power, the gap was vast, like that between an adult and a child. Damn, it can't be to this extent. Yuki felt his own ego weakening, seemingly disappearing. If this situation continued, it would not good. It would not be good. Not be good. If things kept going like this, his defeat was certain. Above all, well then, will it be my turn soon? Not yet. I'm not defeated yet. Yuki gathered up his disappearing consciousness. Didn't I said it would be useless? You are not even capable of following my movement. Yuki lost his sight of Leon, who was standing in front of him, and his left arm is cut by Leon's flame pillar and flung away. An acute pain attacked Yuki, and his control of the power had already become unsteady. He fell to the ground and crouched down. His severed arm stopped bleeding, and he glared at Leon, who hovered over him, looking down at him. The outcome was already determined. Yuki seemed to have misunderstood Leon's overwhelming strength. The difference between the strength he took from the ancient dragon, the power of the Chaos Dragon, and Leon's was not good. It was just like Leon had said, even if he awoke an ultimate skill, the difference in the ability was like heaven and earth. It's the end. Just as Leon declares the ultimatum, a multi-layered 3D magic circle formed with Leon in the center and took in Yuki. The magic circle kept radiating and flickering in a radiant color, and then it was completed in an instant. Perish, holy breakdown, 36 style annihilations, light of Holy Spirit, purification. Twinkling lights radiated from his 36 pairs of wings. When the lights collided with a layered barrier, they were reflected irregularly and filled the inside of the barrier with light. It was a wild dance of photons that broke down the things it touched. It was Leon's greatest and strongest wide area annihilation ability. The annihilation percentage inside the limited space covered by the barrier was 100%. It was an inescapable technique. Yuki, who was still crouched down on the ground with his severed left arm, had his body mercilessly pierced by the lights. When the inside of the barrier is filled with lights, photons are generated, and the ability concludes. This ability generates energy several thousand times greater than the disintegration that Hinata had used, and all objects within the barrier are disintegrated. And then, the inside of the barrier was filled with lights. A flash. When the magic circle disappeared, the lights calmed down. There was only one person standing on the ground. However, that person seemed unhappy, so he escaped, huh? He muttered. So, standing on the ground alone was Leon. Yuki, who had confirmed Leon's overwhelming strength and realized his own defeat, had decided to retreat when his left arm was cut off. At that moment, he had made full use of his maximum strength and earned a little time with thought guidance. The perfect chance to escape appeared when Leon was concentrating on the constructing barrier. However, one thought to praise Yuki. One ought to praise Yuki. His stubbornness deserved appreciation. He didn't surrender until the end of the fight, but that didn't change the fact that he ran away. Leon had promised to cooperate with the two demon lords, and when he thought about the possibility Milim would turn her rage towards him, he felt depressed. Good grief, I must be more serious. It seems that the goal of obtaining Chloe's freedom would be delayed a bit longer since Yuki had escaped. This strategy was a complete failure. It could be said that the moment Yuki succeeded in retreating, he had strategically won the war. Leon had won the battle but lost the war. As Leon thought of the future, there was a complete lack of the taste of victory, and he sighed. End of chapter 134.